You don't have estate planning documents in place? Oh no, what are we doing? Well, I'm not here to beat you up because we can't change the past, but we can change the future. So if you currently don't have estate planning documents, I'm going to help you today. Make sure you know and understand the importance of having an estate plan in place and what it even means to have an estate plan in place. So when it comes to estate planning, what that means is what happens to your assets when you pass away. What happens when you transfer the assets when you pass away? And so the main thing that we want to understand with this estate plan is we've got to have things like our beneficiaries in place. We've got to have estate planning documents in place. That would consist of things like a will, a power of attorney, maybe a trust, making sure we've got a healthcare power of attorney, but also a financial power of attorney. We have a living will to see who makes decisions for you when you pass away. We want to have all of that in place so there's no questions of what happens when you pass away. We also need your beneficiaries, or maybe it's your spouse, to understand what to do when you do pass away. So we need all of this organized so they're not having to run around everywhere and call everyone to get everything organized. So we'd always recommend people, hey, have everything consolidated in one place to make sure that they can know what to do if something happens to you prematurely. And so they're not scrambling and they're getting everything they need accomplished. So let's talk about the importance of why estate planning makes so sense and why we're doing a video on it. So if you understand that only 70% of people have an estate plan, you probably understand why this is a topic that I want to talk about more. And when we see that only 30% of people have an estate plan in place, that typically tells us that we need to do something about that. Because everyone I talk to, they know they need an estate plan, they want an estate plan, but they just don't have it. And so we have to motivate people to not procrastinate here. You may not be on your deathbed, but get it in place now because anything can happen at any time. Plus, we don't know when that end date is going to be. And to understand the importance of who may need an estate planning in place for when they pass away, our estate planning attorney that meets with our clients here at our office says that anyone over 18 needs some sort of estate plan in place. It may not mean they need everything, but they need something. And so what is that? Those estate planning and documents that are important to have in place? Well, the first one is a power of attorney. That's the one that we feel is almost most important. And a power of attorney simply means that, hey, if you no longer can make decisions, so let's say you're in a coma or you're in a car accident, who is going to be the one making decisions for you? Who is going to be the one making financial decisions for you? Who's going to be the one to help you make healthcare decisions? If you don't have a power of attorney, who is going to do that for you? So that's one of the more important ones. Obviously, a will is something that you hear very often. That's something we want to put in place, but understand a will is not going to avoid probate. So probate is another concern that we have to be planning for. And so maybe you look at things like a trust, or maybe you have what's called a TOD designation, a transfer on death. So you have your assets set up in the right way to avoid probate. That's something we always want to make sure we have in place, and estate planning documents can allow you to do so if you organize everything in the right way. Another estate planning document is a living will, and that's simply the one is who's going to make those healthcare decisions for you at the end of life. If you're not wanting to continue on and having them continue to spend money and keep you living, well, you may need someone to step in and say, that's not what they would want, let's do this. Well, having a living will can help you do things like that. If not, you may not have a decision there, and they may keep the money rolling in and trying to keep you alive, and that may not what you want, and that may not be best for your family. And I'm not telling you which way is best, but I'm telling you if you have a decision either way, make sure you're looking into that. And as I mentioned earlier, make sure your beneficiaries are set up. Make sure all your accounts have the right beneficiaries on place, know where they're going, make sure they're updated. I have horror stories I can tell you for days. We've had a client where their husband passed away, and she said, where's this 401k check at? I don't know where it is. And we didn't manage it, so we didn't know what was going on. But we simply found out that check went to the ex-spouse and not to the current spouse. And do you think she was a little upset? And it was all because they didn't update that beneficiary when they got married. So if you've had life changes, life events, make sure that's updated. Make sure you've got contingent beneficiaries. So if that primary one passes away, you've got someone to step up and get that in place. And that's extremely important. And understand the importance of having a beneficiary on retirement accounts. If you have an IRA and you have a beneficiary, then that will avoid probate and you won't have to pay any extra probate costs there. So those are all things that we want to make sure you have in place. So I hope this video helps encourage you to go get an estate plan established. And again, work with a professional, work with an estate planning attorney who is going to help you get these things done in the right way. Just be very cautious that not all estate planning attorneys may be acting in your true best interest. And so you want to make sure you're finding someone who is not going to overcharge you for this and is going to get you what you need. We see way too many times where people go see an estate planning attorney and they try to upsell them some big old trust that they don't simply need. I'm not here saying trusts are bad. I'm just saying make sure it's right for you if you need it. Not everyone needs something like a trust, and it can be a little more expensive. So hopefully this can be a good guide for you. If you have further questions about estate planning, go ahead and mention those in the comments, and we'll try to do another video or try to have one of our advisors reach out to you to make sure you're getting what you need there.